Hello, everybody. Welcome to another month of Bouncyrock's bi-monthly banter. We're here today to go ahead and give you the updates, the skinny, on what's new in Tailspire dev stuff. If you haven't been keeping up with the blog post, this will be a lot of new, probably some new information. If you have, maybe it's a little bit of a rehash, but it'll be some good information nonetheless. So yeah, with that, I'll hand it over to the men in charge.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. So it's been a while again since our last banter. We don't have Chris with us here today, so there's going to be certain types of questions that are probably left to be answered at another occasion. But we'll try to answer as many as we can. So it's a pretty art-heavy and design-heavy panel today. So just to go over some of the things that we've looked at since last time, we've been looking at improving the height plane. We put out a patch for that, which was sort of had some mixed results, and we're looking at how to improve that. We're also looking into possible other ways of handling height planes and sort of like revealing things in general. We've been looking into integrating new fonts so that we can get a full range of Latin in Tailspire, as well as like lower cases and things like that, to be able to expand into translations, which is one of the things that Chris has been working on. And we also had the Shogun Abode expansion, which was a pretty large one, which also basically brings us into the art section of this. So we're thinking about what's next, and immediately we've usually been doing like a Halloween style pack every year. I think we've done that every year.
Yes. We're
Also,
pretty heavy on the holiday stuff, man. When it comes this time of year, we like to do. We just get excited ourselves, even if it's small. It's just fun to work on this thing, and and expand the asset library along with just like working on cool stuff that kind of gets us in the mood as well.
absolutely. And this time around, we thought about maybe integrate, like maybe letting the chat take part in choosing what that is. So we've put together some options, and we're going to be running a poll during this stream. And at the end of the stream, we'll see where we're at, and that's what we'll be releasing for the next Halloween pack. Actually, we're usually calling something else. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember, man. I can't remember. I think that I don't know if it's a Halloween pack, but like, yeah, maybe it is a Halloween pack actually. I know, like, yeah, it is, because, like, yeah, maybe something like that. We can't call it a holiday pack because we're probably going to do something for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Who knows? So
Yeah, it's like a bunch of smaller packs during this period of time.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'd like to talk a little bit about is just so we have some things coming later art-wise as well. I would also like to say, because with the Shogun Abode expansion, as well as some of the suggestions that we have in the poll, comes from the asset request board. So we really appreciate when people vote things upwards in the board, as well as come with new asset requests, because that really helps us when we're trying to choose what packs and stuff to do next. And then over to some user experience things. So after I came back, after doing the Shogun Abode, I've been looking into some of the user experience, especially for new players entering, as well as the sort of general confusions around seats and how they work. So working on doing some redesigns of the campaign area. They basically the login page, I guess, is what we actually call it internally, where you see the campaigns and things like that to make it clearer how seats are supposed to work. Also, having a little bit more information about the players in the campaigns, etc., etc. We'd also love to introduce a type of default board or something similar to that, so that you can load up a board when you first start playing the game, so that you're not necessarily left in this blank slate that we put you on in today's like your player experience. So Jason's been looking at creating some default boards, and we'll be seeing how we want to integrate that. We're also planning on making that available in the guest edition or the demo version of the game, so that people can actually go in and play, in the sense of try out the just the building and general playing before choosing to buy and things like that.
Right.
So basically expanding the functionality of the guest demo edition to also allow people to properly try.
Yeah, it'd be like walking up to a at a convention, like a table of Dwarven Forge with like a really cool diorama with miniatures and dice, so that people can just get a feel for the game, what it feels like, and build, like Johnny said, building and everything like that, and like a proper demo.
Absolutely. And another thing that with the whole getting players into the game, potentially doing some type of a guided tutorial in this default board setting, so that people can learn the controls and also try to teach some of the more hidden features of Tailspire before we can try to sort of get them, push them more into the forefront of how you're meant to play the game. Which also brings me into player restriction mode, which is something I've been looking into and talking about a lot, but I've sort of more seriously looking into it now. And that's things like tunneling, so being able to see your character through walls, having a restricted orbit mode so that your players can't sort of go and look at the rest of the map, and also having things like the game master being able to set the height plane, for instance. I've been playing around with some of those things, and so far the results have been mixed. So I was thinking about like sharing some of that.
Please do.
I'm able to find things.
I actually
Let's
haven't
see,
seen
there
this
we
either,
go.
folks. So we're all.
No, this is just experiments
This is great.
that we've been
Oh yes.
doing. Let's see, share screen with others. So we try that. See if that works. All right. So yeah, this is an example of like a character inside of a tavern of sorts, and so this is the tunneling thing where you can sort of you can see the character through the walls.
Damn,
This has
dude.
by no means been tweaked, but it allows you to sort of get like closer without a lot of things getting in the way. It can also have you walk through corridors and things like that, while the height plane is higher up, and still be able to see some stuff around you. These are currently set up to be orbiting, so that means I can move the characters around, but I can't actually move the camera other than rotating around the characters. I can
do that again. Zoom out real quick. I got to see that again. Yeah, neat.
Well, yeah, so I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be the look of it.
Right.
But we do have, there's like, also when the camera gets really close to thing, it will just start fading them out, which can be nice for, for being in this type of mode. One of the issues that I've felt so far is that it like playing it like this, at least sort of with the height plane really far up, is incredibly claustrophobic. So that's a thing. But otherwise, there is some stuff here. The other thing that we can do with the restricted player mode is, because I know exactly where the player wants to look, usually around their player, hopefully. We can also use the cut box to a greater effect. But even this needs a lot of tweaking before it like works the way I want it to, because it just doesn't look particularly good. But I'm pretty early in looking at this stuff, so we'll see how it ends up working. You can also, just to show that as well, you can be a player and control multiple characters, and then you just switch between them like this. Up here,
Okay.
they can move around. So we'll see how this develops, and there's certainly things here that needs to go in. I think being able to restrict the player's ability to see around the map would be beneficial. It could, and also stuff like allowing maybe the game master to set the height plane for players and etc.
The height plane, so that they can get into that view but not see if the floor above them. If the
Well, I'm thinking that so if the game master can sort of go in and basically set that height plane, then that's going to be left less for the players to do basically and have to deal with.
Yeah. Good.
Great, because
Great.
the game master tend to know the system a little bit better. The height UI, I have a name for this thing, but I just can't remember at the moment. Would have to be redesigned slightly to make it easier to. If you wanted to split the party, for instance, you might have to like set them for different players and things like that. So I have some ideas around that I've been writing down. So we'll see what that ends up being. But yeah, that's it for like show and tell today.
That's great, man.
That might at least spawn some questions about this player restricted mode.
Yeah,
and
great.
With that, I'm actually out of like the things that I wanted to talk about. So I think we'll just see about questions.
Yeah.
All right. I have been apologies for all the folks watching. Apparently, when XSplit crashed earlier, it also messed up how the poll worked on screen. So I've been tweaking it as we go along. But it should be visible now, and we'll see what it looks like on the next scene. But let's go ahead and get into the questions. Let's see that. And yep, the questions are gone. So I'll get the
Hey.
That's because that's the wrong screen. There it is. I'll fix the poll as we go on. But for our first question, Dylan the Cripple asks, "How long do I have to wait for ramps?"
Oh.
Yeah, we probably should have put that in the poll, like scary ramps.
Yeah.
So we haven't actually talked about ramps since it was brought up last time.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
So I think the best way to make it get a lot of attention is by getting a lot of people to upvote that request on the artboard.
Yeah, we got sucked into the finishing up the Shogun set and kind of was laser focused on that. Yeah, the ramps. That's right, though. Please, yeah, definitely get people to vote for it. Go out and vote, people.
All right. Our next question comes from Jason Blob, who asks, "What is the latest headlines on the Dice Engine?"
So the things I know about the Dice Engine at this point is that Chris has been working on the Dice Engine, but we've also been pushing him to do a lot of other things, especially when it comes to language support and text support for the tags. That is something that the chairman has been working on, and also the font stuff that I've been trying to implement. So we've been stealing a lot of his time, which has had a bit of an impact on the Dice Engine. So I can't exactly say what the status is there, but I know that he's incredibly excited to be working on it. And as soon as we stop bothering with him with other things, I'm sure he'll get right back on that. So that's the status.
Yeah, we were also like in the beginning, before we were doing some like internal like play tests and in other VTTs and stuff like that to get a feel for like how they handle automation and stuff like that. And after a few tests, and he's incredibly excited. So it's going to be awesome, and we're all incredibly excited to get that Dice Engine. So yeah. And Lewis was actually doing some internal testing on like the fairness of our dice. Remember that? He was like doing some like randomized like scripted test to see how like fair the dice are in Tailspire. So that's actually a pretty cool thing. We'll have to get some more information and maybe like present that in like the next bi-monthly banter or something. Just his findings were pretty interesting. He had a really cool graph and things like that. So yeah, just speaking of dice, you know.
Yeah, and I think because yeah, Lewis is currently off, so he's away for a week. However, I know that he's quite excited to write a devlog on this particular topic, so we'll probably see the result of this pretty soon.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's gonna be cool.
Our next question comes from Obsi Temple, who asks, "Are you working on Fog of War?"
Like one answer to that is always, because it's constantly in the back of, like, at least my head, and I'm guessing multiple people, to try to how to solve this stuff. And with the player restricted mode coming back on, there are new theories as to how we can achieve it. Because I did do some tests a long time ago, which we showed on one of these streams, which actually had almost like a black covering on top and was able to reveal like the amount of the rooms that we sort of wanted to do. I might do some more testing with that, but I also know that Chris has some ideas of making that a lot more stable. So it's possible that that's one of those once like Chris comes back, comes here, and we do like a hackathon type of thing, and we try those things and see what happens. Unfortunately, there's no immediate progress on that.
But for now, you have the player restriction mode. Like the stuff that you were just showing us is kind of like an interim.
Yeah, as in those are things that need to exist regardless, and they will allow players to at least not like go and explore maps without the game master wanting that to happen.
And do you see that stuff coming out before Fog of War? Obviously, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, this is going to be more sort of we're talking like the next couple of months, probably, assuming that I'm able to keep working on it.
Okay. So basically, what you just showed off, just in a better state within the next couple of months.
Yeah, as in something that's not like something that feels better and doesn't feel quite as claustrophobic and things like that. So maybe I'll be starting from the other end, looking at like what the game master can do to help make things more like visually easy for the players, by taking some of that control away from them, both in sort of how things are revealed and etc. And
I see. That way, they just have to concentrate on just their miniature and moving their miniature around without having to like fiddle with cameras.
That's the idea.
Gotcha.
That's the idea. The thing that I'm a little bit worried about when it comes to that is how much exploring the map adds to the experience, and sort of trying to find some way for the players to feel like they're engaging with the map, even though they are a lot more restricted. So that requires some more testing. There might be like, maybe it should be a slight threshold, so you can have a little bit of like a slide away from the character, at least in sort of the let's say X and Z axis based on the Unity axis of Y being up. And but that will require some testing and see what feels good.
Cool.
And we've been consistently now playing our game on Sundays, so that's one of those things that we'll be able to test pretty extensively by just including it in our games, basically.
Yeah, we're playing again. Woohoo!
Yeah, I mean, it took a while to get there again, so it's great to have that. Yeah, so Fog of War, there's nothing new there, unfortunately, other than the fact that we might start inching up to it by doing other ways of like hiding things that are like in the immediate vicinity of the player.
Our next question comes from 0L Faith L. Is there a resource available you'd recommend for total use of Tailweaver Lite /Unity?
I'm not entirely sure what that means.
The best I can think of immediately is we do have on our website, we do have a page of guides on how to use various modding features that or community content features that we've added in. One of which is a page dedicated to how to kind of get started with Tailweaver Lite. So I think
Yes.
I'd recommend there.
Oh,
Starting there.
could you link that? Could you put that in the chat? Ah, perfect.
Fantastic.
And for those who aren't
All
in
right.
chat, that is tailspire.com.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, if you want to iterate on that any further to clarify it, then yeah, go for it. I'll get back to it.
Jason Blob asks, has the release of Seats been a success so far? We still see pretty consistent confusion in Discord and Reddit on how they work.
There seems like there's the people who wanted these types of seats get how they work. That's clear from just like seeing how many people are playing via the seat feature. The problem is that there's massive confusions in both in like the when you get into game and start to try to invite players and things like that, where the seat stuff pops up. So it's easy to get confused to how it's supposed to work, because it was never supposed to change how Tailspire is played. It was supposed to be a way for like game masters to have multiple groups and things like that to be able to get people in to their games with a smaller threshold, by allowing them to sort of have a group and then bring those seats with them without having to buy other people a copy of Tailspire, or sort of having to buy for every single group and things like that. So yeah, there's still a lot of confusion, and we haven't done a very good job of mitigating that. But that's also part of this player user experience thing. So we'll be seeing some changes happening to the UI inside the game pretty soon. I'm hoping it's going to make it clearer what they're supposed to do and what they're supposed to be. And then we'll have to look into the guest edition and making that more of a demo, for instance, so that people don't see it as being. Steam made it incredibly difficult for us to actually release this in a form that wasn't confusing, and now we have to use what we've got and try to see if we can mitigate that. So it's been successful, but as far as like people being confused, it's been that's not haven't been great.
Jason Blob asks, is there a chance of built-in overhead notes functionality? The new fonts coming made me think of this, as it's currently a third-party mod. Example, DM can put DC-17 Thievery above a chest.
Yeah, so we do want to be able to add context to things inside of Tailspire and do notes and things like that in the future. And the fonts are definitely a reason, like one of the reasons why we really wanted to do like really proper solid fonts is to have some functionality like that. Because initially we wanted to be able to like write up entire campaigns basically inside of a written adventure inside of a Tailspire campaign, and sort of have ways of running that. So stuff like that is coming. We're not currently working on that specifically, so I'm not entirely sure where that sort of lies in the roadmap.
Okay. Zlati Orzel1 asks, what was status effect indicators and turn counter?
Status effect indicators are laying dormant on a branch at the moment, and it's one of those things that I have to pick up again, and it is absolutely on my list of things that I need to pick up again. The turn counters is I'm guessing that's sort of related to the turn-based mode or the initiative mode. and that I'm writing up a design document, or I've been writing up a design document of how to change the turn, like not the turn counter, but the initiative mode or the turn-based mode, to also include things like turn markers and stuff like that, to be able to count the turns, and having things be able to take multiple actions in the same turn, and sort of being able to stack up a lot more functionality there.
All right. Obsi Temple asks, do you want to put something like a soundboard?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it is sound effects and Tailspire, sound effects and music and controlling them are something that Chris and I have been we've been talking about that for a while now, and we will eventually get to it, and there will be. I don't want to say it's going to be like Sirenscape or anything like that, but something like that inside of Tailspire, so you can have a little more granular control over things. And I mean, of course, you start talking about this stuff, and you get into big ideas, and stuff like Xmod and things where you can just randomly generate. You can just pick dungeon, and it brings up a randomly generated sound effects, ambient sound effects for you. So like little rat squeaks like will be called at different times and different pitches and things like that, and big slam door things. Yeah, man, you can go down a rabbit hole with that stuff. So it is one of those things that will be in Tailspire eventually for sure. And how big and what it's going to look like, whether it's a dial to dial up intensity of music, if you want, dynamic music or anything like that, which at that point you would have to write, completely different tracks. And maybe we would get into that in the future or something like that. Depends on how, long we, but anyways, I'm going to go off on a rant like we always do. So yes.
I just want all of the Foley to be you, Jason.
Yeah. I mean, that's likely going to be the case.
I mean, yeah, just listen to the magic missile. That's me.
That's
Yeah. All right. Forge of Laura asks, any progress on the sequencer?
Not a ton. We've sort of merged what we have back into master for us to do internal testing with it, and there are some big things that are currently still missing before it's usable again. There were significant improvements to how you could set up creature interactions, where you could just now move them around rather than having like all of these complicated nodes that you would put down, and sort of like time, like just I'm talking as if everyone knows how it worked before, and obviously they don't. But yeah, there's a lot of improvements there for it to feel more production ready. The things that are missing is proper camera easing and so control. There were really clever ways of getting sort of non-linear movement in cameras, but one of the issues is that the camera speed is also linked to the shape of the curve that it's being placed. So it's interlinked, and that is a subject for a bit of technical nattering, because curves are interesting like that as far as when traversing them over time. So what I've been trying to do is implement a time track where you can do time scaling similar to what you would do in, let's say, After Effects or something like that, where you could control the easing in and easing out of the camera movement across a curve. But I've hit a bit of a snag, and this was quite a while ago, and it's sort of been left there as I had to pick up other tasks. So there isn't anything at the moment, but it's another thing that I'm hoping to get to. And going forward with a lot of the design work that I'm doing, I'm hoping to have like one design task and then one sort of practical application task, so that I can build up a library for the designs so that people know how to implement things, but also having something where I can actually do some coding. So the sequencer would be a good one for that.
All right. That guy Baldrix asks for the hide plane. I assume specifically kind of limited, talking about the limited mode you showed off earlier. Perhaps trigger boxes to define a region that, if a token is within an area, it can set the hide plane and atmosphere effects.
Yes, that is a thing that I was trying to avoid for the longest time, but it sounds like that might be a solution. So we'll have to, we can test something like that. The placing out boxes, placing out regions at the moment doesn't feel that great. So that's another problem that I think we'll have to solve. But that is definitely an idea.
Burning Scythe asks... Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say I'm going to leave it there for now.
Burning Scythe asks, how has progress on tags been going?
Tags are going well, but that's also one of the reasons why Chris has not been working on the dice engine, is because we suddenly needed other things we needed to think ahead a little bit as to how tags work, especially when it comes to translations and things like that. He posted a devlog with that Malcolm in the Middle Hal video where he's just going deeper and deeper into different problems, only to be fixing the car and then shout about how he's fixing the light bulb. And that's very much how it's been, I think, with these tags. So the tags is basically what's the light bulb in that video, and the car engine was the thing that was needed to be done, which is probably the translation engine to be able to make that robust. So it's that is coming along, and hopefully we'll be seeing some of that soon.
Stretchbolt asks, any news on new music or sounds?
Okay, so yeah, we were supposed to do, I wanted to do some for the Shogun set, but I was wrapped into making the assets. Yeah. I mean, I want to do music, I want to do sounds. I really do, and it's like this keeps happening, keeps coming up, but it's like, I don't know, man. Assets right now, like, models, like props and tiles are like kind of take precedence over, like, but I mean, again, if can people request that in like the asset request, like their asset request like it's like, I don't know, it's a weird thing to vote for anyways. It's like, yeah,
no, I think that would be appropriate. I think people probably haven't thought about that because the whole art requests nature of it, but it should
like, suffice to say, man, like I am before I even got into Tailspire and like doing modeling and stuff like that, I've always been a musician. I love music and I love recording and writing and things like that. It's like, I don't even really, it doesn't feel like work to me. And maybe that's part of the problem, because it does, like part of me like doesn't see it like as valuable as something like an asset that you guys could use. But man, let me tell you, when like you're in game and you just keep hearing the same stuff over and over again, yeah, dude, that's a bummer. So, I mean, now that you ask, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna, future packs, if I can sneak something in there, even if it's not relevant, like say we come out with a prop pack and I got a track that I'm working on, it's just like, maybe I'll just release it, and just like, hey, surprise, here's a track, and yeah, because I have some stuff like in the background that I've been working on for the Mega Sector, and I just don't know when that's going to get released, because we got to do all the Kickstarter rewards first, and that's going to have 2 tile sets, so maybe that will have some new music and stuff. So yeah, I mean, just there will be new stuff coming up, and I do want to work on it. So, and I do have some stuff on the that's kind of like in work in progress right now that I could probably just finish up and release. So yeah, maybe. And Johnny and I might work on a quick Halloween tune together, collaborate on a spooky song. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be fun. Can try that.
Yeah, maybe we'll include it with the Halloween pack.
Cool.
Okay. Monophos up next asks, I love Tailspire and will support you guys through and through. What are your thoughts on WotC's Project Sigil? I do want to try out their open testing. It looks amazing, but lacks heart, and I'm afraid of spending a lot of money. A lot of promise on their end in trailers. Just want to know your take.
That's a
Uh,
good question.
I mean, okay, let's see. Yeah, I mean, look, man, this was inevitable. They were all they were going to work on their own thing, and good for them. I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks amazing. It does look amazing, and I am excited to check it out. We'll see what their what the pricing model is and everything like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, if they okay, look, if they nail it, I mean, and they release something like Castle Ravenloft or something like that. Yeah, I mean, we might play a game, and and I don't know, man, I don't know. I mean, there's the thing is that like at the end of the day, I think people are gonna play like VTTs. Okay, the thing is that I see people who play VTTs and they play multiple VTTs, and if you're like a musician, it's almost like you don't always just settle on one DAW like a digital audio workstation to create your stuff, And there might be times where people are like, "Hey, man, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons. This sigil is the way to go," or "Hey, I want to play Shadow Dark Old School Essentials, whatever, even Cyberpunk or Shadow Run." And it's like maybe we'll use Tailspire, or maybe I want to use this and use Foundry or whatever like that. The more that VTTs are getting developed, and the more accessible that they become as just tools and ways to play these games. I don't know. I can't see like people landing on one VTT in the future. Almost like people don't land on one system. A lot of people don't. I mean, yeah, you get like groups that play D&D and just D&D, but you get a lot of groups that are like, "Hey, let's play Star Wars this time. Let's play this. Let's play that." Yeah, D&D's great, but so with that, I think that the offerings that are out there, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to like absolutely filter to Sigil, and it's going to be a great tool for people if they nail it. So far from what we've seen, I mean, yeah, it looks great. I don't know, man. I saw like some of the what was it, the live stream that they were doing with Brennan Lee Mulligan and stuff like that. Some of that looked real choppy, but that could have been, just it's really early in development, and I'm sure they're going to be smoothing out a lot of the rough edges. So, yeah, that's my take right now. My biggest takeaway from all of this, when I see screenshots of it, I like I said before in Tailspire chat, I really wish I was looking at a new action RPG from D&D. It looks like because like Diablo 4 looks great, it looks almost like a Diablo 4, but like I would love a Diablo 4, but based in like the D&D universe. And when I look at the screenshots of Sigil, I'm like I kind of see that, and I'm like, I wish it was that instead. But no, yeah, those are my thoughts, as discombobulated as they are.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, and yeah, I think it looks really good as well, and I'm really excited to see how they solve some of the challenges that are involved with doing these sort of systems. And like my general feeling is that we'll continue following our like going to the drum or our own beats. Actually, the other way around, the beats of our own drum, and just develop Tailspire the way we want to see it, and then we will see like in what ways that Sigil, in what way we differentiates it sort of, and I think there's going to be differences enough that people are going to gravitate towards different things, like much like systems, as Jason mentioned. So I'm really excited to see what they do.
At the end of the day, there's a different tool for everything, and we happen to make a tool that we like to play in, and it just so happens that we're blessed that all of you also like to play in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Well said.
Our next question is from Tretchbolt. Asks, is there a chance we can include hide zones in the height bar so we cannot display hide zones beyond a certain height? Help with placing or getting stacked hide zones.
Yeah, so I think we meant to implement that, and we haven't yet. So basically, what we weren't maybe thinking about doing a separate one, but at least sort of having that included in the height plane, so that we don't have a bunch of flying boxes and things like that. So in a sense, that is close to a bug. We should have actually included that. So yeah, I wonder if that's reported somewhere. We should. I know we talked about it. I know that at one point we were going, yeah, we should do that, and then it got lost in a lot of other tasks that we meant to do. So yes, that's a thing that's supposed to work the way that you're presenting it, I think.
Okay. Lucian V Ghost asks, any more thoughts on point-to-point rope, cable, chain props?
I'm not entirely sure what we said before. I think that it would be cool to do something like that, but there's no additional thoughts around it or currently any plans of doing them. We're sort of, it takes us into the territory of asset specific tools, because one of the earlier pillars was that we were sort of just dealing with tiles and plastic props and things like that. And I'm sort of scared to sort of even mention this now, because I'm sure there's going to be questions about it. But yeah, the terrain tool will sort of be its own set of tools to create a specific visual element. So it could over time extend to other things like ropes, but there's nothing on the. At least I don't think there is anything on the roadmap so far.
Okay. Malthus 10 asks, any news on weather effects?
No news other than I've documented them, which means that the things that how I want them to work and as well as how I want them to look is documented. We are working with getting the particle system that we've been talking about made, basically by getting some help, and that's going to allow us to do weather effects. So yeah, I guess there is a little bit of news. I've documented it so that people know what it should look like, and that is definitely on the roadmap.
Okay. Mangonesium asks, outside of very large tile sets on the horizon, what more focused niche sets have been desires to create?
Oh.
Like there's your dwarf set you've wanted for a while.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I want it so bad, it's going to turn into not just a large tile. It's going to be freaking huge. Nah. Yeah, man. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but okay. Focus niche sets have been. Like, okay,
It's
so
like-
next up's going to probably be Rach has been working on little bits of like kind of fairgrounds kind of stuff, so you can create kind of like, you know, if you would go to like a fair, you know, and you had like the booths and like, you know, like the ones where you can just throw darts and pop balloons and stuff like that. But she's been working on stuff that you'd see like, you know, either in a park or things like that. So that's for the modern set. That's going to be fun. I'd love to create some like weird clowns for that, and it's so obscure to think about like creating just killer clowns. It's like where would you, or like, you know, a clown serial killer or something like that. It's like, where would you use it? I don't know, man. But those are like little things that I think about sometimes that I'd have fun creating. But then you have to look at the actual, like, you know, the value of them inside the game itself. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be a point where, you know, all of the kind of tropey assets have been created, you know, for instance, like the dwarven tile set, you know, the mega sector, the things where it's like, okay, we have everything we need now to create, you know, any kind of like thing that you'd see in Lord of the Rings or you know, in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting. And then at that point we can kind of go crazy and create those things. But yeah, the niche more kind of focused sets you're probably going to see in the future, stuff like that, stuff like where it's like, yeah, we don't have a picnic bench. What? You know, and okay, well, what else do we need to, like, you know, put around that well, what would go with the picnic bench? And it's like, well, you know, yeah, all that kind of stuff. So those are niche, but like at the same time, you know, and they would be smaller packs. They wouldn't be like these large tile sets that would take forever. And, you know, and other than that, of course, like we were talking about in the beginning, there would be holiday packs as well. So, you know, you're probably going to see small holiday packs that like we have fun creating. But also, you know, you guys have a hand in kind of telling us what you want. So, you know, maybe we'll do that for the next, like, you know, for the Christmas pack and stuff like that to see, you know, hey, what you guys want with that. But yeah, that's. What about you, Johnny?
But yeah, no, I'm just thinking about killer clowns and how I would love to do like a medieval Pennywise adventure for Halloween.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah,
that's not on the poll.
What is it? Every 300 years it pops up now. It's every.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what the
30 years or something, right? Pennywise?
For 30 years, yeah. Okay, so 300 is a bit long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's been around for a while, right? So we can just set it in like.
The cast in the second one would have been mummies.
Yeah, so at least modern days we know what the clown is. It would sort of really stick out back then.
Yeah.
We have gestures, but well, anyway. So yeah, as far as like niche goes, that's interesting. Because there's because a lot of those could quickly end up being large tile sets as well. Because you were like when we were talking about the Halloween stuff, you showed me one of those like old
haunted houses, right?
Haunted houses type of thing. It would be great to do something like that.
Absolutely.
I'm also excited about doing like settings for like the 1920s or to do some Call of Cthulhu and just getting into like different, just like getting away from medieval and like cyberpunk into some other settings would be really cool. But there's plenty of stuff that's missing in just like the current settings we have as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that I liked, because there was one on the poll, I'm not sure what the poll looks like at the moment. Actually, I haven't checked.
So far, Haunted Library is in the lead.
Yeah, that's a good one, because that's actually one of the things that came from the request.
Yep.
The request board.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I really liked that because I think it said something like, it was a pretty grandeur title, and I figured that was a massive set. But what was primarily asked for was stackable bookshelves to sort of create a library, and that felt like a very sort of doable thing for a small pack.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited that might win. We'll see. We'll see who ends up voting. So I think going beyond the current settings and sort of doing like small packs for just other for other settings and other timelines would be the niche stuff that I would be interested in. But once again, request stuff.
Yeah, request stuff. Go to the asset request page and let us know what you want. That really does drive, what we work on. And whenever we're like thinking like, hey, what should we do next? Well, that's our go-to place. And it's like, well, what.
Yeah, it's what people want. Cross with our excitement for doing them tends to be what gets made.
Yep. Thinking on it, like you were mentioning other genres, immediately I just pictured like having a set of like the saloon doors available.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of a Western set.
Oh
yeah, you could quickly sort of like make a Western, right?
Yep.
If you just had those.
All right. Frayland C asks, terrain building is literally foundational to building maps. What are your thoughts about integrating / building something similar to Tails terrain into the game?
Tails terrain, as in.
The terrain generator that I believe that's
Oh yeah, yeah.
Baldrax?
Oh,
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please correct me if I'm wrong,
it's
chat.
yeah, no, I that's probably correct. So it's not how I personally want terrain to look in Tailspire. So that's the short answer. The longer one is sort of maybe we could spend a bit of time like making a system like that, and then wanting to replace it later. So I'd rather try to nail how I'd like to see terrains personally, and use that. But of course, it keeps getting pushed, so it makes sense. But that's my stance on it.
Okay.
Although great work on the plugin. That's it is amazing.
Yeah.
Call Pilot says Tails terrain was by Quizar, apparently.
Oh,
okay.
apologies.
Well, I mean,
Baldrax, I think, does the Houdini one.
Oh yes, okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. Some of the screenshots that come out of those things, it doesn't even look like Tailspire. It's like, what do we look? This is insane.
Prestonio asks, are there any plans to add more spell effects under the attack option?
Definitely plans.
Yes.
The one of the documentations that I'm like, one of the design documents I'm working on now is also like how to handle effects and things like that.
Yeah.
One of the issues with effects is they are time consuming to make, especially if you're wanting to nail a specific style with them. And it's like keeping things physical, but also to the right scale, and giving a little bit of a magical flair to them is not something that will come in any visual effect pack that you can buy online. Not that we bought anything from any assets store, although we probably should, but we haven't. And but yeah, I've documented how spells and things should look, like what we should focus on, and then it's being able to go through and sit down and work on those. The status effects is also like included in that, because they also have a lot of visual effects like associated with them. So yeah, maybe at some point we can find someone who is really good at making visual effects and are able to follow those directions to make them, or I just have to find time to do them. So it's maybe when the weather effects happens, because that's going to require an extension in the particle direction of things, that it will make it easier, and also be inspired to do a lot more of those effects. So yes, they are planned.
Okay. Black Wolf Magic asks, I've been thinking about my request of mini to prop from last time. I was wondering if there could also be a interface similar to the base color that would let us choose an overall color to be stone, metal, gold.
Oh,
like
for
of
the
the
base.
mini. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, okay. On
Gotcha.
the base of the mini. Oh, interesting.
I assume they mean making the mini.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like how we have the ghost that is the blue translucent.
Yep.
Yeah. So part of the status effect is being able to like do complete sort of coverings of the miniature, being like for stone skin or for and yes, that will be part of the status effects, or the what do we call them at the moment? We currently only have knockdown there, but it's persistent effects, I think. So.
Right.
And there will be more of those. And doing gold would be a good one. Doing stone would be a good one.
Stone scan, bark scan, that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
Run into a Medusa.
Yes, of course.
So yes, that's the thing that will be part of that once I'm able to pick up the branch again.
Burning Scythe is up next and asks, do you guys ever find yourself using the community-made creature mods for your own games or testing? If so, which ones?
All the time, actually.
Yep.
So the every because we've been playing Shadow Dark and we die a lot. So
Yeah.
anytime that we roll
Yeah.
a pretty much random character, it's like, okay, what miniature would fit there, and we do a bit of searching, and yeah, we use them all the time. They're
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the one I can recall was, yeah, we had like one adventure where like because in Shadow Dark a goblin is a playable creature and they're part of the world, well, civilization, and yeah, one of them was like an owner of a tavern, and I was like, ah, man, I had other goblins in the tavern itself, and I was like, I need a goblin. We don't have enough goblins, which again, I need to make more goblins. But I pulled one out, and it was the Hobbit, the Goblin King, or from the Hobbit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's perfect. He was just sitting there in the kitchen yelling at people. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. I feel like every character I've created now, there's been a miniature on there that's sort of been matching. I've also been using the like the Hero Forge library stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that's also been working really well. But it's so amazing seeing that many miniatures provided by the community.
Yeah, I can't believe it, dude.
Yeah, I casually mentioned at one point that I was running a campaign in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and one of the community mini makers, painters, reached out and was like, "Hey, what do you need?"
Amazing.
That's
Amazing, dude.
fantastic. That's so good.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you guys are insane. And some of those paint jobs are just like, what? Super cool.
Yeah, we're up to according to the latest stats on Mod.io, we have 4,612 community-made creatures.
Dude,
That
guys,
is crazy.
again, it took me years. I think, what do we have in Tailspire right now? Like, it took me years to get up to, like, I think a couple hundred or whatever. And it took you months.
Yeah,
to
I
get
have
up
no
to,
idea how many we have at
Yeah,
the moment.
it-
I mean,
like,
it's like a flexing amount, but it's
yeah, but just like when you see the amount of the community, just yeah, you guys nailed it. Your
Yeah.
animals, insane.
I'm also really pleased with the quality that I'm seeing. So it's just in general.
All right. Tretchbolt back and asks, the current symbiote side panel is pretty fixed. Is there a chance it may be put on its own windowed, hotkeyed, and resizable?
That is so I remember at one point we thought about making different sizes, and the biggest thing about it was not having to design for multiple screens, basically. But then again, it is sort of like a web-based thing, so I guess people would have to do that anyway. But that was the sort of the thought behind it. There were a lot of challenges associated with resizing everything, like making it snappy. So that's what we decided on. However, the future of symbiotes, as far as like what we'll be doing with it, is more of a baggers and Charmander thing, I think. So I'm going to leave it to. They're both away at the moment, so I'm just going to leave it for another time, I think.
Black Wolf Magic asks, can we get a skeletal animal minis as part of the spooky set? A little undead pet would be cute for witches and liches.
Yes. I'll tell you what, man. It looks like the Haunted Library is gonna win out. So I'm probably gonna be making a Banshee, and I'm not sure if Johnny's gonna join in, but we're gonna be making some of the stackable bookcases and things like that. If I have time, I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can bust out a little skeletal animal.
Okay.
Cool.
Jason Blob asks, with Unity Unite happening recently, are there any features on their roadmap you guys are looking closely at adding?
Yes, as in, so we're quite a few versions behind at the moment, and it's partially because we've branched up the graphical engine in a sense, and not that we've rewritten it, but we may as well have. So there are things graphically that makes a lot of sense for us to potentially pursue. There are things that we want to have, such as cacheable shadow maps, so that we can have bigger lights and just lights in general that looks a lot better because they can actually cast shadow. And to do that, it would be great to be able to move to the scriptable rendering pipelines. Now, with the future stuff, they mentioned that they're going to unify the two. For the people who's up to date with Unity stuff, they have currently 3 rendering engines. It's possible you know what that means. It's possible you don't. But we're using the old one, heavily modified. Then they came out with 2 other ones, one for like mobiles and stuff like that, and then one for high-end consoles and PCs. Over time, the mobile one has become the universal rendering pipeline, and they've sort of moved up into feature sets that are comparable to the old one, but also into the area of high-end computing. And the HD rendering pipeline has the high quality one has gone from sort of trying to get into the mobile space. So what they've decided doing is going with the universal rendering pipeline, and then starting moving some of the features over from the high quality one to create one single one, which is should have done ages ago. But at least they're on the right track with that thing. And now with the somewhat changing direction, they've annihilated the what was it called? The runtime fees, I guess.
Oh, right.
And
yes.
they seem like they're focusing on actually making like a video game engine again. I'm sort of cautiously hopeful that we can like stick with Unity. It makes perfect sense for you for Tailspire anyway, and they seem like some of the features that we're using now. I can't talk on rendering too much of the from like I can talk from a technical point of view, but actually implementation we sort of need Chris for. But they have made changes to the things that we're using that seems like it's going to make it more performant. So there are those things that is really exciting for maybe moving into Unity 6 and especially sort of like Unity Next or what, like whatever. I guess it would be Unity 7. So yeah, it's exciting. It's there's a lot of cool things like just having the GPU occlusion culling built in would be great, because then we don't have to worry about things that are inside of other things. They just wouldn't render, which is something we've been meaning to look into doing ourselves, but it seems like there's like an out-of-the-box solution for that. Being able to have more control over how shadows are rendered is also going to be significantly helpful performance-wise, because that's a part of the engine we haven't been able to completely take control over.
Right.
And at least not yet. So it is one of the bigger bottlenecks on rendering at the moment.
Built-in LODs.
Oh yeah. We don't, I mean, we did actually implement their system before for doing LODs because we're doing some stuff with that in Tailweaver, but having it better integrated into Unity as a whole is also going to be hopefully a boon. So there's no actual plans of upgrading beyond our current version, but I've certainly started sort of nudging, sort of winking and nudging whenever I see some new things there, and it would be cool to just see what type of how much time it would take for us to actually get Tailspire as is into the most recent versions of Unity. And now I think the official release of Unity 6 is around I think it's like mid-month or something like that, October. So that's also going to be interesting to see sort of how what that release actually looked like. I haven't looked at the Unity 6 that much. Now I'm just sort of rambling, and I apologize, but I think that answers the questions maybe.
Black Wolf Magic says splats have been useful in surprisingly creative ways. Can we get additional colors or vertical shapes?
Oh, we don't have vertical shapes. Are they all just like? Are they all just like X-axis right now? We don't have them like so you can put them on the wall.
No, I don't think we do.
Oh, that's no good.
And I guess we don't have like. Well, I guess they could be running. So last stream we mentioned something about like prop variants.
That's right.
Which,
rotation.
Yeah, which has to do with rotation, stuff like that. We've made. I forgot about that, but we've made some progress on that as far as like trying to figure out like how what variants we actually need to produce a good number of variants. So once there's some more work done on the dice engine and things like that, we'll probably look into those prop variants again. There's going to be some UX related stuff there when it comes to building and how to select different variants. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah,
or will work.
Yeah, they are useful, and I've been using them actually. And Johnny can attest to it, like in our campaigns. You know, whether it's green splats for paint or, of course, the red splats for blood and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been using them as well, and they're fun. They're super fun. But yeah, they got to the fact that we didn't do them for the wall. I can't remember why we didn't, but it doesn't matter. Like Johnny said, looking into prop rotation and things like that, so we don't want to blow up the library either. You know, with just sideways.
Yeah, we started to see a lot of just rotated props,
redundancy, and
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tailspire Enthusiast asks, is there any way a tab key lock can be implemented for players so they can lock the tab key function and see the names of characters without having to manually press and hold the key?
It's good.
That's kind of a perfect slate for your player experience experiments.
That is true. I wonder if there's any feature requests for that particular one. If there, I haven't. I don't have an overview over if there is, but I'd recommend putting it in there and then try to upvote it, because it does seem like a reasonable thing. We don't have it on the roadmap at the moment.
It is reasonable, absolutely. Just double tap, and then they stay.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay. Zlati Orzel1 asks, are you planning on introducing the ability to hide the base of the minis? With a large number of enemies like an army, it would increase immersion.
There is no plans to do that at the moment.
It would be cool. It'd be cool if you could combine. I'm sorry, man, because I'm like getting into like Warhammer. It'd be cool if you could combine minis into trays. You know what I'm saying? And then but whatever.
Yeah, I think that's one for revisiting. I think at the moment it's like a timid no.
Okay. Jason Blob asks, have you guys considered perhaps quarterly community content contests to crowdsource some lower priority initiatives like music and sound effects packs? We vote, you implement it with credit to the creator. That way you stay focused on tile sets and big features.
I don't want to get into that, man. I would say, look, it is a good idea. It is a good idea, but like I want to pay people for their work, and if we're gonna like have somebody's stuff in there, it's like I would feel more comfortable. I mean, it's a good idea. It really is, and it's like one of those kind of community building things. But yeah, Johnny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's me coming from the business end of things,
Yeah.
because there's obviously the old modern like game dev sort of, yeah, that sounds awesome, and it does. It like sounds like, yeah, it would be a way for people to really express themselves and sort of be able to like put something into something they enjoy using, which is all things that as a modder and stuff like that, I really loved the concept of. From a business point of view, it's a legal nightmare,
Yeah.
and I don't want to get all like lawyery and stuff on it, because anytime I have to do that part of the job, it really drains my soul. But it's tricky because we want people to be properly compensated. We want people to like feel ownership, and then we take that thing and we sort of take it with us, and then that relationship has to be maintained through like legal contracts and stuff like that. It's complicated, and it would take so much time from like just to make it happen, to make sure that everyone is fairly treated. And I hate to be that guy.
Like the best answer would be to like stand up a store front, you know, like a
Yeah, and that might be something that it might be something that's possible in the future, to
yeah,
do something like that,
where
and then people can, yeah, they can do their own thing. And but I mean it would be fun to include community stuff into the game officially. Well, having I remember this stuff with Nevernights 2 as well, because I made a bunch of models for them that like they would talk about putting them into game like officially at some point, and it just became really tricky when it came to rights and stuff like that, because they had. Now we're lucky that we're not really connected to anything other than like
oh
Bouncyrock, so
right, that's true. They had the D&D
we
license Atari to deal with. They didn't just have
yeah, so there was a whole lot of things there for them to make sure that I was fairly treated, and they did they did their best. But yeah, there's a lot of things that needs to be considered. Now that also turned into a very long-winded answer, but short of it is that it's a lot more complicated than I would like it to be, unfortunately.
Ocean Lord asks, any chance of adding some fantasy or more classical fairgrounds assets when you get around to the modern fairground? More old timey stuff.
yeah, yeah. That's a good. That is also a good, a good question. Yeah, I mean, when we, I mean, I don't think we could work on them at the same time. Maybe we could, and just release like a kind of larger prop pack, like a fair pack for like both modern and medieval. That's actually let me. I'll think about that because that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea, and we do need something else for not just the modern stuff.
It does
Like
feel like some of the at least some of the props could be designed in such a way that they could fit into
that's
both.
true. Yeah, and that's
Um,
true. You're right. Yeah, it could be kind of. Hmm,
Okay.
that's a good question.
Sky Dragon asks, any plans for spell effects / persistent AoE beyond the standard cone radius line, or effects attached to a mini such as Holy Auras, Spirit Shroud, On Fire, etc.? I'm new to Tailspires, so apologies if I missed any previous answers to this.
that is perfectly fine. There is plans to have at least sort of status effects that will be like auras and things like that. As far as placing like larger spell effects, we uh, we have talked about this in the past of maybe associating them with like the ruler system where you can drag out and things like that, and having basically not effects that are connected to the player, but effects that can be spawned onto the board. And we're hoping to do something like area effect spells. It's as mentioned before, it's one of those things that is going to become more viable once we have the new physics system. not the physics system, particle system. So we're hoping that that can drive some of the creation of new effects there.
Okay. Roll Moville asks, adding a custom rules system, no matter how basic, would greatly help automate our games and save valuable time. Is it possible to have something in the near future?
Well, the first step in that is going to be the dice engine, but that's
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so adding custom rule system, no matter how basic, yes. I mean, that's part of we had that as a stretch goal in the Kickstarter, so that will be coming in some form.
Yeah, it depends on the like what you mean with near in this case. Is it like 5 feet
in the
or
near
30 feet
future?
or...
Yeah, that's. Is it a shadow dark near where like where it's like 30 feet away and not 5 feet? Yeah.
So yeah, with the dice engine, there's going to be more options for macros and more options for people to do stuff within symbiotes. I mean, will it though? Hold on. This is very much like a beggar's question,
Man.
so I'm going to leave
Chris
it to another time.
Chris would be best to answer this one. He's
Yeah.
got the vision. He's doing the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Ocean Lord asks, are you going to make more goblins?
What? No, only goblins.
Goblins.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely making more goblins. One day there'll be too many goblins. People will be like, stop with the goblin packs. And they'll be like, what? One more. Just one more. Yeah. I will be making more goblins, more orcs, more monsters. Absolutely. That's my favorite thing to do in Tailspire is to make monsters. So yeah. And over the years I've been trying to get better with like anatomy. So it's good practice. And yeah, goblins are whatever.
Well, it's amazing to think that you haven't sculpted before Tailspire.
Yeah. No, I haven't. But hey, man, the thing is having somebody like Johnny as like a mentor it speeds up your process a lot. So having somebody like you, because you were giving me great feedback, and this is not to sidewind on a question or whatever like that, but yeah, that's the thing. So if you can get a mentor and things that you were just like new at, try doing that because it will speed up your process a lot. That's what kind of happened with me with Tailspire. Not only because like there was no other way miniatures were going to make it into the game at the time because you were coding and you were actually making the what it was. But yeah. And so over the years, I've been getting better and better at sculpting and things like that. So I want to revisit I want to revisit everything, man. Oh God, I love it. It's just fun. It's one of my
nothing
favorite
like
things.
looking at things you made like 5 years ago and
as an artist, I use that term lightly too, artist.
Oh, come on,
loosely, but it is good. Okay, whatever.
Crazy.
Cool. Yes, more goblins. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Stretchbolt asks, is there any news about Eldritch Foundry being added in the manner Hero Forge is?
We are working with Eldritch Foundry to exactly what the question is, and we're currently working on just finishes a bunch of stuff, but we're hoping to. I can't say exactly when that's going to happen, but we're really excited for making that happen, and it is going to. It's. I want to say soon, but I.
Yeah.
It's going. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah, and we're also working with Titan Forge.
Yes, I think we mentioned some of that last. We mentioned some of that last stream.
And those guys are doing some really cool stuff.
It's Titan Craft.
Titancraft. I'm so sorry, guys. Titancraft. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Ah.
But we have, we've had such a great relationship with Eldritch Foundry. So many of the miniatures that we have in games are like based on their models. So we're excited to be able to have people build them and get them in game because they're going to fit right in.
Yeah.
Tretchbolt asks, will the status effects be nameable and labeled visually?
I mean, they could. So yeah, let's think about that. Yeah, when we do so. Yeah. Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just because the thing is, like, I went through a bit of a process there of sort of like visualizing. Yeah, that makes sense, and then sort of like, okay, what would the UI feel like? What would it do? How would that look? And then I sort of like, I went through a bit of a a circle there. So it does make sense. We'll see how it feels because it does sound useful.
Oh yeah.
Before we move on to the next question, I'm going to mention that I'm going to go ahead and close the question bot here in about a minute, as we're nearing the end of our allotted time, and we still have a handful more questions to work through. So our next question comes from Roger4325, who asks, curious about what we might expect in future API updates.
That is, no one on the stream at the moment is qualified to answer that question.
Sorry, man.
Because we can put in requests, but none of us have worked directly on that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's also fair to say that if you have thoughts on that subject, to put in feature requests or
Yes.
new API updates.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Normally, would have someone in chat being able to, but yeah, they're away at it.
Black Wolf Magic asks, are you going to make more kobolds, or are they too adorable for more?
So this is where I'm at right now. So if I make more kobolds, right? Like, are they going to be lizard kobolds, or are they going to be true kobolds, like the dogs, like the old, like, you know, like the second edition kobolds? I don't know, man, but I want to make more. Absolutely, kobolds are going to be in, and yes, so we want to make packs. So, like, you know, you get the kobold pack. There's going to be a kobold, like, you know, a few kobold warriors, maybe a kobold, you know, shaman, things like that. But with kobolds, I don't know which ones to make now, because yeah, it's either going to be the little yippers or the hissers, you know, and I'm not sure. But kobolds are on their way. They will be created. Absolutely, we want more official kobolds in the game. And I've been thinking about that, but that's the quandary I'm at right now. I'm not sure which ones to go with, because we have a lizard kobold at the moment. He's cool.
Okay.
But I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes, and what form they're going to take. You know?
Our next question comes from Ocean Lord, who asks, going back to the crowdfunded tiles question earlier, would adding modded tile support, similar to how the current creature modding works via Mod.io, work as a partial solution?
That is something we want to do. I did touch on this on the last stream as well. There is a bit of work to be done with the formatting of tiles, because we know that the moment we release it to the community, we can't touch we can't touch the data format basically anymore, or at least we shouldn't. We definitely shouldn't. So there's certain things that we want to experiment with before we can nail down that format, so that other people can start making things. But modded tiles and props is definitely something we would want.
Yeah.
Okay. Mangonesium asks, is that Berserk in the background behind Reen?
It is. Well spotted. Can you spot any of the other ones?
Yeah.
Turns into a game of I Spy.
Yeah.
Tuk 0 asks, "Hello, do you have any end of life support plan for Tailspire? Running servers forever isn't sustainable and will inevitably be shut down at some time."
Yeah.
Yeah. So our end of life plan has always been to sort of either some type of P2P support or some type of local executable server, so that people can run it locally. Meaning that it is something we care about to the point where we do want to make sure that if Tailspire ends up in that situation, well, eventually, like as you said, that's gonna happen. So yeah, there is something that we're planning on doing is making sure that Tailspire can be run in the future beyond, obviously, in 200 years when we're gone. We're assuming we're going to live another 150, right? So
Sky Dragon asks, "It feels like there's a ton of love poured into Tailspire. Being a small team, how do you make sure you don't get burnt out or overwhelmed?"
Okay.
that's a good
Well,
good question.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you answer, Johnny. I think everybody deals with it their own way.
Yeah. So the things that you mentioned there are very real things that we are dealing with on and off. What we try to do at least is be mindful of each member to be able to sort of get what they need when stuff like that occurs, because we have a tendency to push it a bit far, and sometimes we might need reminders that going like that is going to be problematic and dangerous. So we try to watch over each other, I guess. Is the answer. But we've all, I'm pretty sure every one of us has had times during this project where that's been very real, and we've talked about some of it publicly as well. And yeah, it's I mean, we are a company, but we're also a bunch of friends, and it's a strange place to be in. And
Very
but there
fortunate for
is,
that. Very fortunate.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's also like, I'm not going to say that's part of the problem, but it is sort of like whenever you're like not feeling it, or you're feeling burnt out and stuff like that, and you're sort of like, yeah, we're so fortunate to be in this position, to be able to like do what we love and things like that, and that sort of ends up putting you in a spiral of like a bit of self-loathing.
Guilt,
And it's just
where
and
it's like,
guilt, yeah.
yeah.
And it's just important to remind each other that it's okay to feel like that, and that we just have to take a break sometimes. And yeah, it's a balance, but there is a lot of love poured into it, and I'm really glad that shows.
And that's exactly, man, and that's part of it. The reason, it's because of the love that we have for the project. I mean, we were doing this for a while for free, for nothing, and I would still do it, and it's like, yeah, but with, you may love what you're doing, but you got to be solvent if you want to keep doing it, in some aspects. If you have a team and things like that, it's like, it's a weird, it's strange, it's a strange like place to be in. But yeah, like you said, how do we make sure we don't get overwhelmed or burnt out? It's yeah, Johnny answered that perfectly. I can't add much to it.
Yeah, it's tricky, and it does happen, unfortunately.
Monophos, our last question of the day.
Oh,
Monophos asks, "What future emotes would you guys like to add? Dancing, steaming anger, etc."
well, I mean, those are great.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more like icons and stuff like that, like well, like the sort of like the teardrop things down the forehead, and like just like, I mean, also if there's suggestions, I would love to hear them. I mean, those are great. So
By all means, put stuff on our feedback site.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I made a bunch of tools uh, to easily make more emotes, and they have some flaws in them that makes them really tedious to use, unfortunately. So I'm hoping that we can do a pass on those and fix them up so that we just do a ton of them. And then we just have to make sure that we have better toolings for like listing them out, because it's going to get crowded up in that sort of radial menu. But yeah, suggestions would be welcome.
Okay. That
All
brings
right.
us to the end of our Q&A segment today. And I believe the end of our stream. So it looks like it's time to close the poll and announce our winner, which would be a haunted library, coming in with 10 votes, where the next highest was 5. So
Wow.
look forward to some stackable bookcases in the Banshee and possibly some other little goodies. Jason
Yes.
sneaks any in.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, and thanks everyone for stopping
For
by.
joining us. Yes, actually, absolutely. It's always cool,
And-
man. To do these. I love these streams. They're fun. They're fun.
Yeah, no, they are fun. And also, yeah, like 1,000 thanks to our Discord mods, and they're hanging out here
they're the best.
as well. And yeah, and thanks to the rest of the team.
Yep, we'll be looking at
Absolutely.
being back for another bi-monthly banter in December, just before the holiday break, and we'll see how things go then. So hopefully we have some good news for you, and until then, everybody take care.
Wonderful. Bye bye.